Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're tackling a topic today that's, well, it's far from your standard pet care guide. We are talking about keeping a moray eel. And look, I want you to think of this not just as a husbandry tutorial, but honestly as a high-stakes survival manual for keeping a literal apex predator right there in your living room.
So, pulling right from our source material at Saltwater Reef Co., we learned that while moray eels have this undeniable, almost cinematic beauty, they are also highly intelligent predators, and that presents some really intense safety and husbandry challenges. I mean, these guys are the ultimate escape artists. They're incredibly adept at finding the tiniest gaps in any system. You're not just putting a fish in a tank here, you're essentially trying to contain a muscle-bound Houdini.
To navigate this safely, we're going to follow a strict 4-part briefing today. 1. Meet the moray. 2. Building a secure fortress. 3. Feeding your predator. And 4. Roommates, handling, and health. We really have to organize these complex protocols perfectly for the eel's safety and absolutely for your own. All right, Section 1. Meet the moray, the reality check. Because before you even think about committing to one of these animals, you really have to understand exactly what kind of creature you're dealing with. You see, the term moray is incredibly broad. It covers a ton of different species with wildly different temperaments, adult sizes, and diets. I mean, some stay relatively small, while others, they grow absolutely massive. So, you must confirm the exact species you're planning to keep. On top of that, checking your local rules and consulting your retailer's guidance, that's not just a friendly suggestion, it's mandatory. Actually, some of these eels are strictly for experienced keepers only, so you definitely need to do your homework. Which brings us to Section 2, building a secure fortress, 0 escapes. So the crucial point is that housing is completely non-negotiable. It has to be engineered as an absolute stronghold. Let's look at what that actually entails. Because morays are incredibly strong and super persistent, you've got to lock down every single potential escape route. We're talking tightly fitted or locking lids. You have to secure your overflow boxes, block off those pipe penetrations, check all your ventilation openings, and carefully secure your sump access. Literally, if there is a route, however microscopic it might seem to you, the eel will find it. And an escape creates an immediate animal welfare crisis, not to mention a serious personal safety problem for anyone just walking around your house. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how your internal setup can either be a safe haven or a literal death trap. Morays need plenty of hiding spaces, sure, but relying on unstable, collapsible rockscapes, that's incredibly dangerous. If those rocks collapse, they can severely injure the eel. And worse, if an eel gets wedged behind some hard-to-clean surface, a simple rescue mission instantly turns into a stressful, dangerous nightmare for both of you. You really want stable rockwork, removable sections, or acrylic barriers so you can keep them safely in view. When it comes to water flow, the golden rule is super simple. Let them choose. Yes, morays absolutely benefit from good circulation, but you should never, ever create a massive blast of direct current that just continuously forces them against barriers. If you're using wave makers, aim the flow pattern so the eel can actively choose where it wants to rest and where it wants to hunt, rather than just being pinned into a corner all day. And, letting them choose only works if their environment is perfectly stable. They are predators, and they need pristine water. Strong biological filtration, appropriate protein skimming, and perfectly consistent temperature and salinity are paramount. If you allow sudden swings in these parameters, or, say, ammonia and nitrate levels spike, it's going to quickly stress the eel out. And that stress, it suppresses their appetite and leads directly to some highly unpredictable defensive behavior. Nobody wants that. All right, Section 3, feeding your predator. Tools and tactics. Because these guys are strict carnivores, we need the right approach. They require meaty, appropriately sized, and most importantly, nutritionally balanced diets. You can't just offer them a single type of food every day. If you do, they'll develop severe deficiencies or just straight up refuse to eat altogether. So, here are the strict feeding steps required to keep your eel healthy, and frankly, to keep your fingers intact. Step 1. Prepare varied, thawed seafood in proper portion sizes. Step 2. Use long aquarium safety feeding tongs. Literally, do not improvise here. Use the tongs. And step 3. Keep your fingers completely away from the feeding area. Don't even hover near the surface. Why? Well, because of a terrifying, deeply ingrained instinct. It's called quick strike behavior. It's this sudden, instinctive snapping toward moving objects at feeding time. And here's the kicker. It's exhibited even by gentle individuals, like out of nowhere.
This behavior is terrifyingly fast, and it really underscores exactly why having bare hands or fingers anywhere near the tank during meal times is just a massive liability.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, Roommates, Handling, and Health. Or, as I kind of like to view it, crisis management. Because if things go wrong with a moray, they go wrong really fast.
First off, let's talk about cohabitation. Moray eels are often solitary predators. If you put small or slow species in the tank, your eel is simply going to view them as lunch. The ideal tank mates are large, fast, robust fish. But remember, adding new companions is a super high-risk period. You need to observe their feeding behaviors really closely, ensure the eel has secure retreats, and keep the lighting and physical structure completely stable during transitions to prevent any nasty territorial flare-ups.
Now, if you absolutely must intervene for a medical observation or a tank transfer, you've got to follow these rules. Morays can deliver incredibly painful bites, and even without venom, the infection risk is super high. So whenever possible, just do not handle them. Design your routine so you can observe without contact. But if you must, never rely on bare hands. Plan the intervention well in advance, keep the room calm, use the right capture gear, and afterwards make absolutely sure you wash your tools thoroughly and ensure no tank water gets into any open cuts. So, how do you know if your eel is stressed or sick? Well, you have to take a highly systematic approach, and this brilliantly illustrates exactly how to do that. If you see a red flag like a loss of appetite, don't panic. First, test your temperature and salinity. If they're persistently hiding, check your ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and oxygenation levels. Visible wounds? Review any recent tank layout or flow changes. Abnormal breathing? Assess new tank mates or recent diet switches. You basically have to check your parameters systematically before assuming the worst.
However, if you run those checks and the symptoms are persisting, do not wait around. As our source material wisely advises, because morays can be difficult to diagnose, seek guidance from a marine aquarium professional or veterinarian. Early action vastly improves outcomes, so calling in an aquatic pro really is the smartest, safest bet you can make.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today in this explainer, from locking lids to stable rock work to those long tongs and dodging the quick strike. But I want to leave you with this final thought. You can build the perfect escape-proof fortress. You can dial in the water parameters perfectly. But at the end of the day, are you truly ready for the predator? It's an immense responsibility, but for the right keeper, it's an incredibly rewarding one. Thanks for diving in with me, and keep exploring.